Well, welcome to the Healthy Christian Leader Show, friends. I'm here with Kristen Habermehl, which is a real privilege for me. She's my wife, and we have journeyed 30 years together. 32 as friends, actually, going back to our dating years, or including them. And, Kristen, you're such a blessing in my life, and I love life with you. And we've had to learn how to walk by faith in the things that God has called us to over the years. Mm-hmm. And it's been a real development of faith over time.
Definitely.
And we've been talking about faith and faith development and faith in family, and faith applied to our needs and the care and protection of others. We talked about all of that in previous sessions together. I want to talk about faith as it is applied to work-life balance. You're now basically, our kids are raised and they're independent, and you've moved on to a new season of your life in which you are a consultant and educator and public speaker around accessibility. But we're still in that season of being a mom, even though they're grown kids.
That's a permanent season. They just are independent.
And a grandma.
Yep. It's a great new season.
And a wife.
Yep.
And a person.
I also hope the wife is permanent too, don't
It
we?
is. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Guaranteed. But and you are a person. You've got to take care of yourself. Along with being a friend and a daughter and all the other roles that come along in life. Where does faith come into balancing life?
That's a great question. And I actually would say it's a very big part of balancing life. And it's been true at all stages, and I don't think I can look back and say one stage was easier or lighter, because even though with the comparison to what you'd manage now, it felt like a lot then because it was a lot. It goes back to our previous conversation about the 5-pound weight, and then you can handle a 10-pound weight, and then you can handle more. I don't feel like I have to carry more now, but you're right in that faith has to come into the work-life balance of everything we do, because there's no way we can get everything done that we want to get done. I can't complete work to the perfection I want to do, although I do my very best. I can't be available to every one of our kids as extensively as I want to be, although I do my very best. And I'm sure you feel like I can't be available to you, although I do my very best and want to be. But I think we've taken that old principle of the big rocks, and we've pictured that life. And for me, in the personal application of faith, I have that jar. I remember building one once and really tangibly doing it and taking those big rocks and thinking what they were. And it was my relationship with Christ, and then my relationship with you, and then my relationship with our kids. And now a grandchild is another big rock. But those rocks had to fit in that jar first before anything else. And then I remember I was out in the yard and I found smaller rocks, and those were the commitments of the work responsibilities, the leading the church group or whatever we choose to commit to in community time. And then friends that are important and family members that we love, extended ones. But recognizing that by faith, when we put those big rocks in first, we don't know how everything else is going to fit in. But I watch time and time again, as do you, God miraculously carve out space that I don't even know how it happens. It truly is miraculous, because you can't explain it even with a clock and a calendar. And yet when I put what I believe are the first things first, God is faithful. He creates the most fun surprises. Times you and I have gotten to go for a walk and on almost an exotic place that we wouldn't have anticipated getting to be. And yet here we were, and God just created this extended experience in something where there was heavy responsibility and things that we were trusting and sowing into. And I see that with all the hats that I get to wear. I wish I could be home all day, every day, and enjoy permanent grandmotherhood or permanent, being available to whichever adult child is coming and going and has a conversation. And yet, somehow, as we structure and organize the things that are our responsibilities by faith, and there are so many days I just tell the Lord, I don't know how I'm going to meet the responsibilities I have. And because I do contract work, sometimes I really don't know how I'm going to meet the deadlines I face. And yet I've learned from you, I stop at 5:30 unless there's a rare exception that I have to work an extended day. And I tell the Lord by faith, I'm stopping and I'm focusing on family, and you're going to help me figure out tomorrow how to get what needs to be done. And he does. And it has to be God, because it's not explainable. In fact, some of our adult kids and even colleagues have commented, how did you pull that all off? And I can say with a smile, I honestly don't know. I know God helped me. So I think faith is a really big part of that work-life balance.
It's huge. It really is. And I think I remember the lesson that God gave us, and which you've alluded to there, that it's God first, our spouse second, our children then next, and our business, because our business basically feeds our children and our family, and then our ministry. And we've watched over the years, I remember many times looking at an estimate or a contract, and just having to believe that if I couldn't do it today, God would have to bring another opportunity tomorrow to be able to be home. And that's just definitely an application of faith. But he's been so faithful. And the amazing thing is that I watch it on the ministry side, how as it's like God put himself last in those priorities, and if you think about it in terms of serving others. And yet, he constantly makes time, even creating and inserting things I didn't plan, and I couldn't have orchestrated, but he puts them in there, and he advances his purpose in his kingdom, literally by faith, as he breaks bread, which is time. So now, we've been talking about faith and faith applied in circumstances. And, Jesus did say, in this world you'll have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world, which is a perfect verse to connect to what we're talking about, because, yes, there are difficulties, but Jesus overcame the world, and it's really trusting in the fact that God has all the resources needed for us to be an overcomer. Sometimes things are not just natural obstacles. Sometimes they're spiritual battles. What do spiritual battles look like? How do you know they're spiritual battles? How do you know the difference between what's a natural battle and what's a spiritual battle? Or do you?
I think often we don't know when a spiritual battle is a spiritual battle. Sometimes till we're into it for a while. Sometimes it's natural. Sometimes we just have to respond to what we're feeling, what we're facing, the things that are flying at us. I think when it's an actual spiritual battle, sometimes it comes with confusion that we can't always sort out the clarity that we would love to have. So it's anchoring ourselves in what we know to be true, of what we need to apply to our situation. So the spiritual battle, definitely, we've experienced many together, walking through times when it just was beyond what was natural. In fact, people that would not even necessarily understand the faith that we're walking by would say, wow, there's a lot you're dealing with. It's pretty weird. And it's true. There was a lot that would come at, the things that we were facing. And yet God would bring clarity, and God would sort things out. And it would be applying that repeating lens of faith, walking by faith and not by sight. God, I'm setting my sights today on what I know to be true, that you don't change, that you are faithful, that you are present, you're closer than a brother, that I do not have to fear. And you are your very present help in this time of trouble. And, we learned how to pray more boldly, certainly, when it came to understanding spiritual battle and how to, walk that way as we discerned what was going on. But I think sometimes we don't know, and we just have to trust that God is going to give us wisdom of how to pray and how to walk forward as we experience these things.
Well, and when we experience spiritual battle, there's a faith in applying what is true and what is truth and appropriating what is truth.
Yeah.
That's so important. And that, is clearly an application of faith when we, and we have to stand on the word. I think of the scripture, when you've done everything to stand, keep standing, continue to stand. And, really wait on the deliverance of the Lord, because he delivers us from what is both the natural and the spiritual, and he's been so faithful. Kristen Habermehl. Kristen, it's been amazing to have you here. Thank you for the time that you've shared and the journey that you've shared in faith. And we'll see you next time on The Healthy Christian Leader. Well, thanks for joining this conversation. I trust that you were encouraged and challenged by the stories and experiences that were shared today. Would you join us next week? You can find new episodes weekly in video form on the Aaron Ministries YouTube page and in audio form wherever you get your podcasts. Aaron Ministries is an interdenominational network of friends in ministry with a mission to foster healthy Christian leadership. Check out our website, aaronministries.com, for more information and resources, and on how you can donate to our ministry and potentially start a healthy Christian leader gathering in your area. Until we meet again, may you experience the Lord's blessing, grace, and peace. I'll see you next week.